files when the user needs them. But this process of where this file is stored, how this file is stored remains opaque to the user. So user is not aware of the intricacies of how the file is actually being stored. We talked about the directory structure, where directory is a special file that keeps information about all the files in that particular directory. So basically, you're dividing the disk space into logical entities called folders or directories, and each folder is a container of certain files or directories. This allows the user to organize the files in a much better way. So all the files which are related to a particular activity or particular scenario can be copied, can be stored in one area. Generally, most of the operating system will have tree-like structure, and user can traverse from one directory to another directory, and user can traverse from a directory to its parent directory. And we use two special symbols, dot and dot dot, to represent current directory and parent directory. And each file will have a file name because that's how the user will remember the file. And as far as operating system is concerned, the file will be a collection of bytes which is stored on the hard disk. And a file name can be either absolute or relative. So absolute name is always with respect to root directory, whereas relative name is with respect to the current directory. And file name will consist of base name and extension. And generally, operating system will look at the magical number, which is the first byte of the file, to see what is the type of the file, and will actually associate a application to open that file or process that file. Then a file will be specified by many attributes, and operating system will actually record these attributes along with the file. And some of the commonly used attributes would be the name of the person, name of the file, sorry, owner of the file, what is the type of the file, whether this is a file which is as per FAT or it is ext file or NTFS file. We will be discussing about this type of the file in the next lecture. Where exactly this file is stored on the hard disk, what is the size of the file, what are the different timestamps associated with creation of the file, last access of the file, last modification of the file, and what are the permissions for this file, who can access these files. And then these are the different operations: create, rename, delete, open, etc., etc. Then we talked that the files can be stored on the hard disk as a contiguously allocated file. But the problem in the contiguous allocation is that modification to the file may not always be possible, or it can be. And the advantage of this contiguously allocated file is that file can be accessed faster. Contiguous allocation, and then we talked about fragmentation in the contiguous allocation. And to avoid fragmentation, we can go for the linked allocation, but then it is sequential access, and the file access time would increase. And if you want to access any random data in the file, the time will be 2. So time will be too much, okay? But the advantage would be that so access is sequential also. Okay, so in linked allocation, we are not going to have any wastage of the space. The only wastage will be the disk can be utilized to the last block. The only wastage would be the information about the pointers that you need to put on each block. Now we are going to talk about another strategy, which is basically a hybrid of contiguous allocation and linked allocation. And this will be known as indexed file. So what we do in index file, we use an index block, which will be storing the addresses of the data blocks of the file. So basically, we are having an array of file pointers. And because we are using this array of file pointers, so individual disk block need not be contiguous. So index allocation will look something like this. So this is the index block. And this index block is consisting of addresses, and each address is pointing to a respective file block. So these are the data blocks. This is index block and this is the data blocks. So by using one index block, we can, so now if I want to access some random data in the file, I need to find out which block it would be. So would it be in the first block, second block, third block? So which kth block this information would be? And then I try to access the index block and look at the kth entry here and try to find out what is the address and go to that particular data block. So so I need to have two accesses. The first access is for the index block and the second access is for the data block. And now if the index block is in one disk block, and if I can accommodate this index block in the memory, so only for the first access, I will require two disk access. Only for the first time I'm trying to read something from the file. But otherwise, because the index block is already in the memory, it will be equal to one disk access. This is what I was trying to say. So if index block is in the memory, only one disk access is needed to access any data block. But if we are going to have only one index block, it will limit the size of the file. For example, let's say one block is equal to 1024 and one disk address is 8 bytes. So if it means the number of entries that can be there in one index block would be only 128. That is 1024 divided by 8 bytes. So it can keep information about only 128 data block. And because each block is equal to 1 kilobyte, so the maximum file size could be only 128 kilobyte in this particular case. So we can go for multiple blocks as index block, but then you will be requiring the two accesses. First, you have to access the index block, and then you have to access the data block. And the maximum file size would be n, where n is the number of maximum. So the maximum file size would be decided by the number of entries in a disk block, in an index block, because the block size is equal to b and size of the pointer is equal to p. So the number of entries in the index block would be floor of this b divided by p. And because there are n index blocks, so the total number of entries will be equal to this entity. And because each block is consisting of size of each block is b, so the total size of the file would be equal to n multiplied by b multiplied by floor of b upon p. If we want to go for a large file size, then we can increase we can organize index block as a tree. So this is the first level index block and this is the second level index block. So naturally, if the number of entries in an index block is equal to x, where x is b divided by p, b is the size of the block and p is the size of the pointer, then the maximum file size would be, so naturally, how many second level index block would be there? Number of second level index block will be x, because each of them is pointing to a. So the number of entries in the first level index block equal to x. Each of them is pointing to a second level index block. So the number of second level index blocks is equal to x. And because here there are also x entries, So the total number of entries in second level disk block will be X square, and each of these entries pointing to a data block, and the size of the data block is B. So the total size of the file would be Bx square. So that is the size of the file that it can support, will be Bx square. We can go for 3-level tree structure. We can go for more level tree structure. But now we'll come to file organization, which is used in Linux. So Linux actually makes use of a block, which is similar to your iBlock, index block, and they use the term inode for that block. Okay, the term is inode, not iBlock. And what this inode has disk pointers to disk addresses, and there are about 13 to 16 direct pointers. Then after that, there is one single indirect pointer, then one double indirect pointer, and one triple indirect pointer. So the advantage of direct pointers is that if the file size is small, that we need not use the single indirect, double indirect, and triple indirect pointer. So basically, single indirect pointer means that this is a pointer to a block of addresses. This is a pointer to a block of addresses, pointer to block of addresses. That's what actually single direct, indirect, double indirect, and triple indirect means. You can interrupt me at any point if there are any questions. So direct pointers ensure that smaller files can be accessed, and so basically each direct pointer points to exactly one data block, and each single indirect pointer points to one block of pointers. Double indirect pointer points to one block of first level pointers, which are going to point to second level pointers, and these second level pointers are actually pointing to the data block. Similarly, triple indirect pointer will point to first level of pointers, then these first level of pointers are pointing to second level of pointers, second level of pointers are pointing to third level of pointers, and this third level of pointers are actually pointing to the data blocks. So this is how the organization looks. So there are direct pointers which are directly pointing to the disk block, and single indirect, it is pointing to a block of pointers which are actually pointing to the disk block. Double indirect is pointing to a block of pointer, which is again pointing to block of pointer, and which is actually pointing to the disk block, data block. So all these gray areas are the data blocks. I have not shown the triple indirect, but it will be pointing to a block of pointers, then second level of pointers, then third level of block of pointers, and then the disk blocks. Advantage of this structure is that Linux can support very large files. And depending upon the size of the file, the access time will, if the file size is limited to direct block pointers only, then it can be accessed very faster. But even if it is using a single indirect, so you can have a moderately sized file, and still the access will not be very much affected. But at the same time, it is also supporting a very large file size. Let's look at some example. So let's say the block size is equal to 10248 bytes, and we have got 64-bit address, disk address. So that means a pointer will be equal to 8 bytes. So it means number of pointers, entries that can be stored per block would be 128. And let's assume that there is number of direct pointers is equal to 13. Number of data blocks per direct pointer is 1. So each direct pointer is pointing to one data block. But if you look at the number of data blocks per single indirect pointer, because this complete block is used as a set of pointers, then it will be 128 pointers. So it is pointing to 2⁻⁷ blocks. Now, if you look at the double indirect pointer, it is pointing to first level data block, first level pointers, first level index block, which will be containing 2⁻⁷ entry. Each of this is pointing to each of this entry is pointing to a second level index block. So that is again 2⁻⁷ entry. So the total number of entries will be, total number of blocks that can be pointed to by this two-level structure would be 2⁻14. Similarly, triple indirect pointer is going to be 2⁻⁷, then 2⁻⁷, then 2⁻⁴, 2⁻21 data blocks. So the total number of data blocks that can be referred to in this particular file structure would be 13 plus 2 raised to power 7 plus 2 raised to power 14 plus 2 raised to power 21 multiplied by 1024 bytes. So if you look at the first size, it will be 13 KB. This is 2 raised to power 7 multiplied by 2 raised to power 10, so 128 kilobyte. This will be your 16 megabyte. This will be 2 gigabyte. So the size of the file that this system can support will be in excess of 2 kilobyte. So as long as the size of the file is very less, let's say 10 kilobyte or 12 kilobyte, then this can be accommodated in the direct pointers and can be accessed very fast. And if the file size is less than 128 plus 13, that is how much? 141 KB, then you require only one more access, but still this can be direct. So this can be directly accessed, and the pointers, the data here would be requiring one disk access. So access time is not very adversely affected if the file size is not too large. But at the same time, it can support very large files also. So maybe you can try to do this question right now. So block size is equal to 512 bytes. Disk address is 32-bit. And there are 15 direct, one single indirect, one double indirect, and one triple indirect pointer. So maybe you can try to solve this question. Right now. Hopefully you all have answered. So please solve this question quickly. Hello. Akash. Why is everyone leaving the meeting? Don't they know that I see the messages here? Okay, calculate the size of the file. Meanwhile, I'll be moving to the next presentation because this was a part of the presentation for the previous class. Okay. What's the answer? You're supposed to calculate the answer. What will be the answer for this? Please quickly give me the answer. So disk address is 32-bit address, so 4 byte. So 512 bytes divided by 4 bytes, that will be 128 again. So 15 plus 128 plus 128 square plus 128 cube divided into 512. Yeah, that is the answer. So some of you have converted this into, okay, fair enough. So now we'll be starting with the next topic. If there are any questions till now, you can ask it. Okay. So I'm presenting. So we discussed about how files are stored on the hard disk, but apart from file, operating system also needs to create overhead structures to ensure that it can access file easily. Now, but operating system also needs to ensure to keep information about which disk blocks are free and which disk blocks are occupied, and which disk blocks are corresponding to a directory and which disk blocks are corresponding to a file. So for that, different operating systems use what we call file structures or file management systems. And one of the earliest file management system which was used by Windows was FAT, file access table. Then there are other versions also, and different operating system use different versions. So let's start with the file allocation table. Okay. So as we said that a directory is a collection of files. And if you look at the file can be either implemented. So in each directory, you will be having some entries for file. And depending upon the attributes that you're storing for the file, it can be a fixed length record, it can be a variable length record. Most of the earlier systems, they restricted the file name to 8 bytes. Sorry, 11 bytes, where the first 8 bytes were the file name and the next 3 bytes were for extension. But if you look at the modern file systems, there is you can type a very long file name and still it will be stored in the directory. So in this case, actually, if the file name is a variable and there is no apparently limit on this, then the directory entry would be a variable length record. So if you have fixed length record, then it will be looking something like, so each entry will contain the name of the file and the attribute of the file. And file name would be restricted by the number of bytes which are reserved for that particular field in this record. Another way of recording this would be that each entry would contain a file name, and it will contain, so this is the second part of the table, okay? The first part of the table is file. So there are two entries which are reserved for the file name. The file name and inode or the disk pointer where the file is stored. And then the second row is keeping a pointer to the block which is containing the attributes. So this block can be within this directory block itself. So directory is actually a file which is stored in a block. So in this block, the first part of the block is reserved for making entries about files, their inodes, and a pointer to where their attributes are stored. And the attributes are stored in the second half of the file. For example, something like this. So this is the space which is allocated to store variable partitions of all the files. So it is the pointer to file 1. So this is the variable part area, okay? And this is the fixed part area of the file one. So these are the attributes which can be, which have got the fixed length. So all the attributes which are of the fixed length, they are stored here, and all the attributes which are of the variable length, there is a pointer to that within the disk block, within the directory block, where this will be stored. So the directory can be implemented when we are supporting the directory. When the directory is supporting the variable size record, there can be two ways we can actually store that within that stored both fixed size and variable size attributes within the directory in this manner. So the first manner is that first of all we write down that this is the entry for the file one, and this will be requiring so many bytes, and then this is followed by a fixed number of bytes reserved for attributes which have fixed length. And then the rest of the bytes are stored for files with the variable attributes. Then similarly, then you have the file 2 entry, then file 3 entry, file 4 entry, and so on and forth. But the problem in this case is that if we are searching the directory for a particular file, then we have to first of all look at the first entry, look at what is its entry size, then go to that byte, go to kth byte, then look at the second file entry, then read about the size of the file, then again make a jump by m bytes and go to the next entry. So ultimately the access, so searching for the file within the directory may be requiring us to go through all the entries in the directory. So we might not go to a particular entry at a time. So if I want to look at the third entry in the directory, then I have to go to the file 1 and then file 2 and then file 3. And if you're searching for a particular file, whether it is existing in the directory or not, in any case, you may have to, in the worst case, you may have to go to all the directories, all the directory entries. But in this particular case, because the directory entries are not are not of the fixed length, so we need to look at this. We need to read this entry and then go to the next entry and then go to the next entry and so on. Also, depending upon where the file name is actually stored, whether it is in the variable part or whether it's in the fixed part, depending upon that, to check whether a file exists or not, I may have to read this part also. So anyhow, another way is that we keep that the initial part of the directory block is organized as a structured data, where this is containing a pointer to a variable part of the file 1 and the fixed part of that of the file 1 attribute, fixed attributes of the file 1. Sorry, attributes of fixed size for the file 1. So fixed part area. So the number of entries reserved for each file would be fixed. And some of the space has to be left open to accommodate variable part of each files. Now, one of the operations that directory structure, that we need to do on the directory is searching for presence of a file, whether a file is existing or not existing. So generally we use a file name for the searching, and this is a linear search, which we are going to start from the beginning of the directory to end of the directory. So we have to go through, in the worst case, we may have to go through all the directory entries. If there are large dictionaries, large directories, then we might go for hash-based searching for speed up. So basically, we'll calculate the hash of the file name and try to. So hash of the file name will match to an index, and we go to the kth entry in the directory to see where the file is actually stored. This we have already discussed. Okay. This we didn't discuss. So every disk is divided into a disk is consisting of multiple volume. So a disk volume will be divided into partition, and first sector of the volume is known as master boot record. And so when you're booting up your system, then your software in the your firmware in BIOS will be the first to be executed, because this is the only part which is in the main memory and which is non-volatile. So the CPU is programmed to read from ROM, which is also a primary memory, ROM, and where the BIOS is actually stored, and it will start executing the program there. And this program will actually check for that all the input and output devices are working well, and all the memory locations are, there is no bad memory location in the main memory, and if there is any bad memory location, it will mark it. And then it will actually go to the first physical sector on the hard disk and will locate the master boot record. And what this master boot record will contain, this will contain an information about different partitions, because your system might be dual boot, so it might contain 2 operating systems, and you can boot from boot using any operating system. And so your disk is divided into partitions. So this each partition may contain a boot record for the respective operating system. So partition table, so master boot record is actually located at the first sector itself, and it will keep information about partition table. So partition table is a data structure. So basically this data structure will keep information about that, whether this is a bootable partition or not, and what is the start and the end address in terms of track on the for this particular partition. And so if you want to boot from the second partition, to look, so this program will read from this partition table, try to locate where the second partition is, and the very first sector on this second partition would be containing your boot record. And then this boot record can have other information about the file system. So that's what we are going to discuss now. So now when we look at the file allocation table, I think I'll stop at this point and we'll start from here in the next class. So if there are any questions, I will take them. So meanwhile, I hope that all of you have answered the question on your attendance. Have you? So I will upload other presentations for your I will upload other lecture slides for your